Hello, everybody. Sorry, I was waiting for the green light. So now we have a panel that is about future potential of virtual reality, a panel discussion. And we will talk together, meaning with Tina Sauerlander, who is artistic director of the VR Prize in Germany. Olivier Fontenay, who is head of digital creation at the CNC, meaning National Center of Cinema and Image, and Jay Kim, who is XR curator at the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival in Korea. So if you don't mind, Tina, we're going to start with you with the first question. Then we will continue talking together for about 45 minutes. Sometimes, Tina, understanding what happened in the past is the best way to look forward. So what have been the most important key steps in the evolution of virtual reality?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Dominic, for everyone for having me here today. Yeah, I think it's really important to take a look back in the beginning because VR is not such a new medium as may be perceived today. VR is around since the 60s, and the first VR, or actually it was an AR headset, was developed in the late 60s by Evan Sutherland and his MIT colleagues. And that was a VR headset that was connected to a computer for the first time in the history of VR headsets and could therefore generate images in real time. And that was a really important step in the history of a virtual reality headset. So there have been headsets before, but they only showed a video in stereoscopic view. And then we had another big wave of virtual reality in the 80s. We had the VR visionary Jaron Lanier, who developed a headset called the iPhone. And this was a also very expensive headset. It cost like several thousand, $100,000. And the computers were, of course, really big at that time. So it was nothing you could have at home. But many artists already could work with this headset at this time because Jaron Lanier was very much interested in giving his technology also to the artists. So there have been VR artworks in the early 90s, for example, by Jenny Holzer, who showed a VR piece, two VR pieces actually, at the Guggenheim Museum in New York in 1993. And also artists like Monika Fleischmann and Wolfgang Strauss have made work for virtual reality headsets. But and then today's wave of VR came like 5 years ago, 6 years ago in 2015, when the Oculus developed the new headset, the Rift, and also the HTC Vive headset came out some years later. And these new technologies we use today are much, much cheaper, and they are more accessible and they are better to use. They have better images. And these are the tools also many artists discovered in the past years to work with in visual arts and film and many different branches. And they discovered the potential of VR. You know, speaking of visual arts, artists who studied painting or sculpture understood that with this new tool, they could expand also their notion and their ideas of their traditional media in virtual reality. And so, yeah, this is how VR spread today to museums, to festivals, and to all these wonderful realms we will be talking about today.
It's good to know that there is a history. So now, Olivier Fontenay, will there be room for venues such as location-based experiences after the current corona crisis?
The classical one. I have to activate my microphone.
Yeah.
I was saying this was a pretty good question because everybody is wondering and we really don't know. The fact is that before the current corona crisis, there was something increasing in that area, very specifically, at least in Europe. In North America, I'm not so sure in Asia, but in Europe, at least, it was something really becoming more and more important. Everybody has stopped, of course, a couple of months ago right now. I don't know the situation again in Korea, but in France, everything is pretty close. And it's almost the same in almost every place in Europe. So really, honestly, I don't know. I know that things change during this crisis. We have seen an increase of people getting some helmet at home, namely the Oculus Quest 2, which seems to be an interesting success. We are pretty sure that experience-based location are going to restart pretty soon. But honestly, you really never know. Tina just was talking about festival and museum. And of course, we are all really waiting for the reopening of museum and festival, because we know that the people want to see VR experience in this location.
You're totally right. We are waiting. So, Jay Kim, now compared to the virtual reality, it seems like mixed reality hasn't already reached its true public. Should we be optimistic for the potential of such technology that has only seduced companies up until now for you?
사실 그 VR에 비해서 이제 MR
Actually, compared to VR, the MR glass is currently under not much full development. But if you look at the HoloLens of Microsoft or Spatial or other glass developments news, we're hearing a lot of these news recently. So I think a lot of people are pinning hopes on that. Few years ago, when Magic Leap came to the world, when people actually saw the video, a lot of people were very hopeful, and we have that memory. But it did not actually go as people expected. So when it comes to software or hardware, I think that we're at an infant stage to talk about the generalization or general use of mixed reality. But if you put it into another perspective, so for example, whether it's VR or MR, so all of these, rather than focusing on the technological development phases of these technologies, I think that we have to think about it in another way. So there were 2Ds, screens and papers. So there were lots of like 2D based behaviors that were conducted by mankind. We are seeing a lot of evolution and change. And I think that this is the kind of approach that we need to take. So it's just like we're living our everyday lives, there are lots of computer images and data that are being simulated in a virtual world. And we are interacting with all of these images in the virtual world or 3D world. And there are different ways of actually communicating with these different data and images. Of course, we're seeing a lot of technological developments, but I think that we have to wait and see how the mixed reality will unfold. But I think that a lot of people are very much interested in new experience, new media, and I think that they're in the process of learning about these new media. And once the people get used to these media, I think that a lot of changes will happen in all parts of our society. So in that sense, we have to think about how we are going to develop and showcase these new media and how we're going to communicate with the audience based on these new media. I think that should be the focus of us.
Okay. So thank you so much, Jay. You mentioned the new media artists, and we're going to talk to continue talking about them. One more question for Tina right now. Artists, this kind of artists, are used to bending and hacking digital tools and services they use, so it gives their extended reality project a singular aesthetic. Would it be different if they had more significant production budget, according to you?
I like this question a lot. But first, I also wanted to, say that I totally agree with what Jay said, that the mixed reality technology, especially augmented reality, needs some more years for development so that artists can make, more significant works for it. And this is also what I witness in visual arts. There are artists working with the HoloLens, But, the visual output is kind of rudimentary. So the potential is definitely there, but it will take some more years. And this is also why I see many artists working with virtual reality, especially at this point of time. And yeah, referring to your question, my answer is both yes and no. On the one hand, the artists, speaking of visual artists, as I know them, is that the artists like to use these tools that are accessible, that are around, that everyone can easily work with, like the tools game designers work with. So tools and software and hardware that it's available for free or for cheap, because visual artists want to question these tools. They want to push them to their limits. They want to find out what is the visual language they're using, how can they break it, how can they reflect on the tools that everyone uses at this moment of time. Well, but on the other hand, of course, yes, because every artist, of course, dreams bigger. And if they would have like significant budget to make and create their experiences, they would, of course, be happy with it. And this brings me to the structural problem of the virtual reality art scene, is that the artists actually advance all the costs they have. They have the production costs, they advance their time which they put in the work. So not just a very, very few part of the visual artists have production budgets before they start working. Most of them do it in their own time with the tools they have, and so they kind of wait until the work is ready, and then they can show it in museums. They would get a fee for it, for showcasing the work, but this would of course never finance the work itself, or even they could never make a living out of a VR work. Also on the art market, of course, VR is very hard to sell. And this also brings me to the VR Art Prize, which I'm the director of, which is in Germany a really huge project to substantially fund especially this young art scene, and to help the medium of VR being seen in the art institutions. And the VR Art Prize by DKB and CAA, they gave grants worth 20,000 euros to 5 VR artists. They do a big exhibition with them, an institutional show called Resonant Realities that I curated, and this will be actually physically opening tomorrow night in Berlin, which is really exciting, at Haus am Lützow. And there will also be a prize, so on the 7th of May we will give the VR Art Prize like to the artists, and it's dotated with 12,000 euros. So it's like an important step to create some substantial funding and visibility for VR art in the art scene in Germany. And I think these kind of models like VR residencies should be much more happening also in the institutions and festivals.
So as you mentioned, most of the time, as you mentioned, Tina, technologies are pretty expensive and generally complex to use. So according to you, Olivier, because this is your job finally to help the artists, how can we better support and accompany the creators using such digital tools?
Well, as you just said, this is one of our main missions at the CNC. I'm going to repeat that this is National Center for Cinema, for Movie and Animated Picture, meaning that we are providing grants to immersive production, but also to technical industries. This is something really important and quite classical in the history of the CNC. The CNC was created, I think it was 70 or 80 years ago, to help a French company to create cinema movie and create the movie industries and the studios and the TV shows, video game, and now immersive production. It's always very difficult when there is a new media appearing to be able to master it. As you just said, this is usually very expensive at the beginning, but also this is very complex. And we are facing both difficulties, in fact. We cannot give grants to any artist because we need to be sure that he is going to have the structure, the company to work with, able to give him the technical knowledge to be able to create something. And this is something that was underestimated at the very beginning. A lot of companies were coming from the movie industry, and just start to shoot in 360 degrees, but that was not enough to create something. So we at the CNC are providing around 5 million euros of grants every year to VR production. It can be whatever. It can be an immersive production. It can be a video game using VR. But we are also providing a lot of subsidies and grants to technical development company located in France or with partnership in Europe. And I have to add that we are also pretty open to international co-production, and we're having a lot of French companies working with companies, namely in Asia, because we do feel that this is something that is really important to be able to have artists and technical talking together and working together all around the world.
Thank you so much. So now, Jay Kim, because you work in a cinema festival as a XR curator, can virtual experiences be more profitable for you for some cinematic genres, such as experimental cinema, or let's say fantastic, or some other genres compared to some others?
그거를 어떤 그 장르의 측면에서
Well, I don't think it is appropriate to approach from the perspectives of cinematic genre. Yes, it is true that this technology is new and difficult to apply, and it also comprises an array of researches and experimentations. So that's why majority of cinematic genres focus on specific ones, but basically experimental cinema has its own particularities. So when they are combined with VR or other new technologies, I don't think it can be interpreted as more profitable. The goal of experimental cinema is different from ordinary cinemas that targets the general public. But we are in the beginning stage of new technologies, and that can be helpful in some senses for experimental cinema. But if you look at the production stages, well, new technologies are explored in a way of securing popularity. That's what I see in the scene, in the cinematic scene. And practically, as Mr. Fontenay has mentioned, there are many different know-hows of production and how to introduce to more massive public, to extend contacts with the audience. And these should be explored first, rather than expecting some more focuses on the small genre cinemas, but we try to reach out to a greater public through new technologies.
Thank you so much, Jay. So let's continue. And one question for Tina. You just mentioned an event that will start soon. So when it comes to using virtual reality apparatus, how can the artist better invite the public in the physical space to participate in the virtual experience? Meaning how you think might be the bridge between these two different spaces.
Yeah, I think this bridge is extremely important, as Jay Kim also mentioned. It's about how do we reach the public with virtual reality, and as most of the users don't have headsets at home, it's really important to have VR festivals, to have it in museums, to actually reach the public or bigger audience. And for me personally, having done virtual reality art shows in museums in the past years in Toronto, Washington, Barcelona, and now, finally also in Berlin, it is not that easy to, just put VR in a museum space and and just have it there. It's really important that it's mediated in a proper way to the audience, to the actual visitors, because the medium is still new, and many people, especially in the museum, they don't really, dare to use the headset. It's also new that you can touch something in a museum, yeah, and then you should put on it. You're immersed, and the other visitors will see you. You won't see anything. Just you will be, in the headset, and we always still until now face that problem, and therefore it's really important that, yeah, as you say, the artists make an easy access. That's a very technical thing, but for example, that the artists have to take care of that the work starts automatically when you put on the headset. That's like a crucial programming issue that the works have to have, and we showcase them in museums. But then it's really important to have guides in the exhibition space who really help the public to use the headset. And many of the experiences we show in the exhibitions are not only video based. When there are videos, it's easier. You put on the headset, you look around, and that's easier to manage. But as soon as there are controllers involved and the work is interactive and the users have actually to touch buttons on the controller, it gets very difficult. And most of the people really don't know how to use it. Only like people who come from the gamings, they can more easily handle this. But for everyone else, it's a new thing, and there's much hesitation in use. So it's really important to have museum guards taking on an active role in the show to help the audience and the exhibition.
Thank you so much, Tina. So now for Olivier, the question is that new, but anytime there is a new technology emerging, finally we think this kind of question because digital has always blurred the boundaries between practices. Can extended reality technologies encompass the art world and the creative industry?
Well, that's again a very good question, and I'm going to go back after what Jess said, but also Tina. And the example of the museum is really interesting, but also the fact that the VR industry needs to be able now to reach audience, maybe not massive audience at the very beginning, but audience. This is really top priority. So museum can be something really interesting. On the other end, when you are talking about art, will you consider that a virtual exposition that you can also see live in a museum is something interesting to have on a headset? I'm not 100% sure about that. Professional need to be able to offer to the audience something new and different, something that is not the reality relocated on a virtual scale. Then we will start to see, and we are seeing them already, some really artwork, some really piece of art created specifically for the VR industry. On the other end, without right now and so far the ability to reach the audience. I was quite interested this summer because I think probably all of you know that Venice VR, one of the main festivals, was not able to be open this summer. But so they've created satellites in many cities in the world, probably also in Korea, in Germany, in France, and everywhere. And for the first time, some people were at least able to see the projects that were only usually displayed at Venice. And this is the first time, in fact, since Venice VR exists, that so many people have seen exactly what was created for Venice. This is something really interesting. We need to have more people seeing what is created by artists. Otherwise, this is going to be a problem. And I'm going to add one last thing. I was thinking about that when Tina was talking about museum. As we said, VR is a very young media. It's a small kid. It doesn't know how to work alone. It's completely crazy to discover that people working on VR experience are not able to work on the same technical basis, meaning each time that a professional is going to a museum, he has to deal a new setup, a new installation, and everything. And so, of course, it's complicated. I can see why the industry is not able to focus on some standard. I'm not talking about technical standards, but what is going to be used so that non-professionals of the XR industry are able to participate to the growth of the sector.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's continue with J. Kim, a question about extended reality devices such as headsets. are at the exact crossroad of cinema and game industry. So can they survive separately?
저는 좀 긍정적으로 바라보는 편입니다.
I'm optimistic. So in the beginning, I believe that the VR technologies or headsets will be have been firstly applied to game, and we've seen a lot of possibilities in the gaming industry. That is because the game inherently is based on interaction in its nature. So I think that these type of devices were fit for the gaming industry. But in the process, culturally, the gaming and the cinema have tried to find the crossroads or contact points. And I think that was a natural process with the changing media environment. So I believe that a lot of the headsets on apparatuses are not only meant for games. That's what we have learned. And cinema is a very well-known commercial product, but there are lots of storytellings that are being done based on cinema or based on films. But they try to send a message to the audience, but they also try to promote like interaction with the audience as well. When there are these type of interactions with the audience through films, they came to realize that they can be present in a different world, different universe. And the audience came to feel that they are alive in a third space. So this, I think, sort of gave a new cultural experience to the audience. So I think that the apparatus and headsets will be widely used in both areas, cinema and game industries. And all of these creative practices will be extended and expanded using these technologies. And of course, with the development of technologies, we will see the emergence of more easy to use headsets that are more affordable and more accessible. And of course, naturally, I think that technology and culture will see development in parallel.
Thank you, Kim. So let's continue talking about participation with you, Tina. According to you, are the spectators equipped with controllers going to participate in extended reality artworks more and more in the future?
Yes, I think so very much, and I also agree with Jay Kim on this, that these tools, as he said, the controllers, the headset comes out of the gaming industry, so it's very much connected in the public perception with gaming. So once somebody sees a controller, like he or she thinks about gaming. But I also think that the general audience, the public, will understand more and more that the VR headset can not only be used for games, but for cinema, for films, for art, for all kinds of entertainment, for social VR, for visiting concerts together, for chatting together, for education, that you can go to different parts of the world with one click in the headset. And so it's very important that the audience or the public understands that the VR headset is a tool for many different things, and this will also continue more and more in the future, and this will help spreading the medium also, of course, in the arts. And I think the role of museums, showing virtual reality, contextualizing VR experiences in the physical space with huge installations, maybe with paintings or sculptures or other artworks by the same artists, is really important to help the spreading of the medium. But I also think it's really important to produce content for the headset, because many people today know why they should buy an expensive smartphone, but not a much cheaper VR headset. And we really have to work on this, that people understand why it's cool to have a VR headset, or the kids for like birthday or so, that they want a VR headset maybe instead of a new phone. That would be like really great for the industry, that the young generation is really interested in the medium. And for us, we just developed a new app, the Radiance VR app. So Radiance is actually a VR platform on the internet that I co-founded, and it documents VR in visual arts. We showcase the documentations of 180 visual artworks from almost 40 countries, from 80 different 120 artists. And we have this platform, and now we have just built the app for the Oculus Quest, the Quest 2 headsets, where users can download the app, put it on their Quest, and stream virtual reality artworks, video-based virtual reality artworks in the Quest headset. So I think it's really important to, have both VR in the physical and the virtual space.
Thank you so much, Tina. So, Jay, you already started to answer the following questions, but maybe you could continue talking about it. For you, in the future of moving image, will there still be room for spectators' passivity that is required for contemplation?
되게 재미있는 질문인 것 같습니다.
I find this question very interesting. So if you look at the film or cinema, you can say that it is a passive way of enjoying it because the audience has to sit down and watch it. But how will this audience actually evolve in the new media era or media environment will be very interesting. I think I can make an analogy. So there are lots of contents that we see, and when we design interactions among different contents, there are lots of approaches that are being developed, and we are seeing a lot of best practices being reported. But basically, it is the first media that's been exposed to by human beings. So I think that there are lots of different approaches that are being used to train it. But if we make an analogy with a little baby, when a baby is born, we have to teach him or her how to walk, crawl, and walk. But once he or she grows further, she or he, the baby, can actually move around as he wants or walk around as he wants freely. So the audience who enjoys media, with the development of media, I think the audience will get accustomed to it in a natural way, like the baby. And I don't think that it's only about, having to make the audience move and move around and being active. When we take a walk, sometimes people like to take a walk, but sometimes people would like to just sit down on a bench and enjoy the air and enjoy the nature. So I think that when we design different interactions, different types of interactions for contents, I think that we have to explore diverse options. And of course, this goes the same for the cinematic creators. So I think that they are feeling a bit of an obstacle because they have to adopt this completely new approach. And I think that audience also find it a little bit not strange and not familiar. But I think that if we spend a little bit of meaningful time and if we actually implement different types of interesting projects like what all of you are doing, I think that the audience eventually will find it natural to embrace the new media.
Thank you so much, Jay. So if you don't mind to conclude, Olivier, before we receive some possible questions from the room, we started to talk about the past and the roots. So let's now move forward and think about the future and some possible problems. Whereas hardware and software are continuously evolving, how can we anticipate the obsolescence of the emerging virtual creations, Olivier?
Well, I have to say that, of course, you have to master your that. Tina mentioned at the very beginning of the speech that at some point the real-time graphics appeared. You have to be able to master that. But once that this is said, I have to say you have to focus on something completely different. You have to focus on art and you have to focus on content. We are not making technical demo. We are not making something that we want the user to see only once. We want to tell a nice story. We want to have strong characters. We want to have good interaction. I don't care about techniques. I know that the company professional have to master it, but this is the less interesting part. When I go to see a movie in a regular cinema, I don't care what camera was used by the director, what special effects were created. I want to sit and to have a great movie in front of me. I'm waiting for that in the XR.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Olivier. So now either we could continue talking or reacting to what was said between the four of us, or if there are some questions from Zoom, there is one. So sorry. I don't know who you asked the question, but what do you think in the next step for the development of the use of VR in the art? So who wants to talk about the VR in the art? Maybe Tina, you want to talk about it?
Well, about VR in the arts, I think more museums will continue to showcase VR, and more art art academies will include virtual reality to teach to their students. So we will face a more structural embedment of virtual reality or mixed media in general in the next year. So the medium will become more and more visible. And further, I think that also in the arts, more content will be provided via apps and in the virtual space. This will surely be happening. And as we all said already, at the moment, VR is very strong, but AR definitely will follow in the next year. So different ways of mixed reality.
So I saw you saying yes. Olivier, you have something to add about the idea of the using of VR in the context of art, Olivier?
Yeah, of course, because this is also something that we're giving grants for. We've got a specific office at the CNC helping artists to create something with VR. But in fact, my point is that I would like to have artists creating things, whatever the tool can be. If the tool is VR, that's great. But I don't care about art in VR. I care about art. And I can't wait to see an artist being able to really master the concept in itself and create an original piece of art.
Yeah, totally. And Jay, do you want to add something about the idea of VR in art?
저도 이제 앞서서 얘기한 두 분 감독님과 거의 비슷한 생각인데.
I also agree with the two previous speakers. So as I said in the beginning, I don't think that our focus should be on the technology itself. If we approach it as the change in the interface, we can think about it this way. So for example, whether it's not related with AR or VR, humanity will evolve to spend more time with and interact with computer, interact with the images created by computer, or a lot of other applications created by computers. So there is high chance that the mankind will be connected with computer and computer made images. So the artists should also focus on the expressions and the bodies and the contexts that are created by computers. Artists are doomed to take interest in those. So of course, artists can leverage these technologies, or they can leverage more advanced technologies than VR and AR. But there will be more needs and more demand to interact with the images made by computers. And that is why artists like me are very interested in this field. And I think that a lot of researches need to be done.
Thank you so much, Jay. We've got another question by Jay Huaishin. Sorry about the pronunciation. Maybe you can start answering Olivier about this question. I'm sorry, it's about funding, but I guess that everybody is concerned about funding right now. So is there enough public and or private funding for VR today?
Well, the answer is quite easy. Of course, no. No, of course. We are seeing that every day. We are receiving a lot of projects. We cannot help all the projects. And years after years, we are seeing projects more and more expensive, which is a bit of a concern for us. But I do understand also that creators now are mastering more and more the tools. So they want to create really ambitious projects. But on the other end, there are less funding coming from the private companies. So we, as a public office, we have a lot of pressure on us. That's why it's also really very important to be able to have something that starts somewhere for the diffusion of the VR title, museum, LBE, whatever, Oculus Quest 2. But something needs to happen, because if it does continue for a few couple of years more, there is going to be a huge problem here.
Thank you so much, Olivier. And maybe, Jay, you want to add something about the public and private funding in the context of your festival?
뭐 한국도 그다지 다르진 않은데요. 아직
Well, there's no big difference in Korea. But government-led public institutions funding or support is the major stream. Well, it is because it takes time for mass production or democratization of VR-related artworks. And the public institutions and government have shown much interest and they try to support. But long-term perspectives and time for artists and audiences to be more familiar with VR technologies are needed. And the achievement of those trials should be well shared through exhibitions or diverse events where audiences can meet with the VR-related artworks. That's what I expect to see.
Thank you so much, Jay. And I'm looking about the time, so maybe you could add a few words and conclude about Monet. Tina, if you don't mind, in your context of your festival, the same question about the public and private funding. Is it enough?
No, it's obviously no, it's not enough. I mean, in Germany we have very good funding for the artists in general in the state, but the awareness for digital art in general, including of course mixed realities, was not very widespread. But in the past year with the COVID crisis, the awareness of digital art has highly increased in the German funding institutions. Also before, but mainly in the last year. So that I really hope with this new awareness and new money, also from state money especially, will change the situation and will help the medium to structurally establish. And also what's important to say is that VR mixed reality, whatever it is, it's another medium as painting, as photography, as film before. So it will not take away another medium. It will just add another realm, another world, another medium to the art scene. And what is came out of the crisis, especially in Germany very much, is the feeling now that the virtual realm or the internet, the online world, the digital world, is a real space where people interact. And I feel that's a very new idea for many people, also for the people who give the money or the funding for art projects. So I think the crisis accelerated this development in Germany. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tina. This is noon here in Paris and 7 p.m. in Seoul, so we have to stop. Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you so much, Olivier. Thank you so much, Jay. And I wish that next time we will be all together and have a drink of wine in some place, either in Paris, in Seoul, and or Berlin. So see you soon for real. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Ayun Kwan. Hello, everybody. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, Ayun, for taking part into our festival today and being a host of Making Lemonade towards a digital future for the art. I'm very happy to see you again and to share this moment with you. I will just present you, Ayun, briefly. You're a Korean artist, a VR artist, and we just had a very, very interesting discussion on VR just before us. You graduated from the French art school Le Frénois, and you are now established in France, and you've been in France for quite some years now. And you co-founded the VR studio Inner Space. Just a few words again, you won the Discovery Prize of the Friends of Palais de Tokyo in 2015, and your work, Ayun, has been presented in international film festival, exhibition all across the world. I would say in France, I would say in Germany, in South Korea, of course, and the United States. We really here at the French Cultural Service of the embassy in South Korea, we really like your work, which is eminently narrative. And what's interesting about your work is that it explores the border between fiction and reality. And we were actually discussing exactly that about your last work that you presented at the MMCA in Korea. And you also interrogate the use and the limits of technology, which is exactly the topic that we are trying to tackle here today and for these 3 days with Making Lemonade. I will now leave you present your work, Ayun, present the bird lady that you're going to show us today and explain what the work is and why you chose it. Again, thank you, Ayun. It's a great pleasure for us to have you.
Thank you for the invitation. So, 안녕하세요. 권하윤 작가입니다.
Hello everyone, I am Ha-Yoon Kwan. So virtual reality is not about creating images in a virtual world, but we have to really think about there are lots of different characteristics as the presence in the virtual world and also in the physical world. But what I really appreciated is that VR per one apparatus provides one visual or spatial space for the audience. So we can actually bridge the gap or distance that exists between the artist and the audience. And it really brings the artist closer to the audience. So the virtual reality is very fit to create a memory-based artwork. And that is why there are lots of artworks that are being done on memory based on VR. And today I'm going to share with you the bird lady. So 19 years ago, I had a teacher that I really liked, and his name is Daniel, and I actually represented the memory of Daniel inside my work, The Bird Lady. So before Daniel became a drawing professor, he was an apprentice at an architectural firm, and he was actually asked to actually draw drawings of a 16th century building. And while doing that, he visited a lot of houses in the process. And every time he visited a house, he felt like a new world had opened up to him. And one day, he actually came across a lady who had a nickname Bird Lady, who collected birds. And when the door opened, there were lots of birds who were flapping their wings, and he saw a lot of birds singing. So he forgot about the work that he had to do, and he was there mesmerized by the story of birds told by that lady. And in the end, he actually submitted the drawings based on his experience. So the bird lady is one of the stories that my teacher told me about. So when you're a student, when I was a student, I thought about doing a work out of his memory, but I didn't really dare to do so because I didn't want to actually undermine his memory, my teacher's memory. But I realized that it was possible to create a real-time space with a virtual technology, and I wanted to do a favor to my professor, so I began working on this project from 3 years ago. So the picture that you're seeing right now is Daniel doing a photogrammetry. So it's taking pictures from different angles and reconstituting it into 3D. So photo taking takes in a very instant moment, but you can see that the results are amazing. So a lot of the photos that are taken from different angles are combined through stitching, and you can see that it's like a sculpture putting together different pieces of photos. So it seems like a time has frozen real time. And of course, the bird lady also has a space of memory, talks about a space of memory. So I think that it is a very, it was my actually intention to able to have this time frozen, have a frozen time in a frozen moment. So we used that technology called photogrammetry. And of course, rather than the audience just sitting down and appreciating the artwork, just like Daniel did before, I wanted the audience to take a step closer to towards the image. So if you look at just, I wanted to shed the conventional way of just watching the images. I actually focused on the real-time kinetic movements to make the audience to come closer and closer to the image. And as the audience approaches the image, the story unfolds and develops. So the position of the person itself came to control the time. So in the beginning, it began from this light blue area, and it gradually moved to the center or the center top right left, which is the yellow area. And as I came to use a new medium, I had to develop a new languages that befit that medium. And of course, the final product, which is a film, is only the process of the entire process, one step of the entire process. Because in order to make the audience to step forward, to come closer, so I am a myopic, and I try to make sure that the images that you see close very clear and the images that you see far away very flu, so that people can take steps to go closer to the image to see the image clearer. And the image that you see is not in my final film, but you can see that it actually represented a space of memory that is constantly flowing and passive. And this scene is the same. So the bird lady's house was on the second floor. So there is a scene in the film where we have to go up the stairs to this virtual space in the second floor. So there is the staircase that leads up to the second floor, and I had to think about how to mix and match that with the flat ground level. And let me show you a short footage. And for dramatic turn, I also use the wind, meaning that if you approach a certain area of the film, the fan would turn on so that you can feel the breeze. So in 2017, the work was completed and it was actually showcased in the National Museum of Modern Contemporary Arts in Korea and Palais de Tokyo in Paris. I, up until then, had dealt with topics that were very serious and heavy, and actually, for this project, it was not very easy to deal with the topic of memory. But I came to realize that memory is something that is beautiful and is something that we need to face. So, based on this project, I came to realize that how the gait of people, the walking of people is very lyrical and very rhythmical. And I want to show you uh, all of these process in installations, but it is not yet completed. So I am going to show you the video of when I completed it, and please enjoy the video.
Yes, so hello everyone. I'm really happy to welcome you to the showcase and new opportunities for visual arts as part of the online conference Making Lemonade. And it's also a special pleasure to me to welcome the audience from our partner festival, Recto Verso in France, to this program. For museum and exhibition spaces, the digital challenge has already begun long before the pandemic. Especially public institutions, with their commitment of making their collections more accessible to the public, have started already years ago with digitalization of objects and offers of educational content online. And also the changing habits of the first and foremost younger audiences push the pursuit to enable audiences to experience exhibitions online and digitally. And all this was accompanied by developments where commercial galleries were trying out new digital models of the classical art fair, for example, to escape the enormous costs of the physical fair presences. But of course, the pandemic has accelerated the need for digital means to present visual arts, as a lot of exhibitions in the last year could not be visited in person or only seen by a very limited number of people. So existing approaches in new ways have been further developed to enable a remote access to artworks and exhibition. And even though most of us cherish the physical encounter with artworks, and also taking in regard the spatial impression that is accompanied by it, we all know that the digital is here to stay, even after the pandemic. So I'm really thrilled to be able to present a showcase where we will be introducing 5 exciting approaches of museums and exhibition spaces to present artworks and exhibitions online and/or facilitate cooperation through digital means. The presentation of each of the participants will take around 10 minutes. And after all the presentation, there will be time for discussion among all the participants and also for questions from the audience. So please use the comment section in YouTube for your questions, and I will be happy to ask them to our presenters. So for the first showcase, I welcome especially Seung-mi Baek. She's a curator of the Digital Museum Department of the National Museum of Korea. Among her many projects, she organized the first World Museum Forum on the topic of museums and artificial intelligence. The National Museum of Korea is the largest museum in Korea with 3.5 million visitors each year, and it has developed a vast number of digital instruments in recent years. And Seung-mi Baek will present the creation of the immersive digital gallery at the National Museum Korea. Seung-mi Baek, the floor is yours.
네, thank you, Melanie. 네, 안녕하세요. 저는 국립중앙박물관의 학연구사
Good evening and good morning. I am Seung-mi Baek, the curator for the Digital Museum Division at the National Museum of Korea. I'm so glad to be with you at this meaningful event. Today, I would like to talk about implications of the use of digital technology museums by highlighting the creation of immersive digital gallery at the NMK. This picture you see now is the National Museum of Korea in Seoul. Before the COVID-19, the National Museum of Korea attracted more than 3 million visitors every year, but unfortunately, during this current circumstance, museum is open to a limited number of visitors. We have 13 affiliated museums across the country other than the one in Seoul. Each national museum plays an important role as a cultural hub in the region. They are working on a brand project based on their representative regional collections and their own local culture and history. Well, as you all know, our lives are changing rapidly with advanced technology. A culture that values individual happiness and quality of life is gaining more recognition, and digital technology is a practical tool to realize this. The digital infrastructure that can be experienced in daily life has been expanded, and the demand for new cultural experiences is also rising. This is a global trend as well as in Korea. Services using digital contents are already in use at various museums in the world. And the establishment of immersive digital gallery is based on these changes in the socio-cultural and the technological environment. In the midst of cultural demands and changes, the National Museum of Korea is trying to implement a mid and long-term 10-year period projects, various digital strategies under the vision of Museum for You. And under the Museum for You, we are implementing diverse digital strategies. Well, I wish that I could show you all these in person, but I would like to take advantage of this technology of video. And what you will see is the formation of immersive digital gallery. Please enjoy it with my presentation. Creating immersive digital gallery is the first step for the important development. We intend to expand opportunities for public participation and communication through digital contents beyond the time and space. In addition, using these contents, the purpose is to create public enjoyment with cultural and educational contents that can be used in various platforms. Beginning with the National Museum of Korea in Seoul, Immersive Digital Gallery implementation project is expanded to other affiliated museums nationwide. The most important aspect for the creation of Immersive Digital Gallery is sustainability. We wanted this to run continuously within a permanent gallery, not as one-off event. We also wanted to make immersive gallery a part of our museum space that diversifies audience experience at the museum. And we also tried to improve audience opportunities for leisure and cultural appreciation in the museum space rather than as a space for knowledge and learning. And ultimately, all of this is to attract the visitors to the museum's essential function, value of cultural heritage. And from now on, I would like to introduce each section of the immersive digital gallery created by our museum. What you're seeing now is an interactive content based on Checcado, Scholars' Accoutrements by an artist, Lee Hyung-no, in the collection of the National Museum of Korea. This painting, Checcado, is a digital reproduction, not an original one. And on the big screen, you'll see Checcado, and this has this is a painting containing not only books and stationery, but also various symbols wishing for happiness in life on a bookshelf made of several columns. And it would have been the painter's choice or the preferences of the patron, but with the technology, visitors can decorate the bookshelf by choosing what they want from the tablet pieces provided. It can also be transferred on the wall of the gallery in an enlarged format. And as you see here, the audience can choose items out of their preferences using the PCs and tablets. And those items selected by the audience will also be transferred onto the wall. And in the program, not only items from the past, but also modern items are included among choices. And the user's taste is analyzed from the items they choose. And this one has gained lots of recognition from the audience. You'll see here a three-sided panoramic screen, 60 meters by 5 meters in size. And it can provide a feel of powerful impressiveness to the viewers in the magnificent screen, and you will feel as if you are the main character in the picture. Well, with the concept of immersion, walking in a picture, contents on 4 different themes are presented. And all these works are not original. These are reinterpreted as a reproduction. And 4 different themes are climbing Mountain Kumgang, royal procession with the people, journey of the soul, walking through the eternal cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, and banquet of Taoist immortals. And we wanted to display a painting representing a 3-dimensional realistic space on a massive 3-sided panoramic wall. And individual content is more focused on visual appreciation rather than providing information. Well, detailed information is available through monitors and leaflets because it focuses more on visual interpretation. So it may lack detailed information or in-depth analysis. So a QR code can be used to connect to the e-museum site, and the monitors and leaflets can provide a permanent information. An e-museum site can be widely used through QR code, and audiences can achieve further information about the works. And the next is Immersive Digital Gallery 2, which consists of interactive contents and the VR experience space. Our traditional paintings you see now on the screen are from the Joseon Dynasty, the late Joseon Dynasty. It's Taepyeong Seongsi-do, which is translated as the city of supreme peace. And those paintings are vulnerable to light, making it impossible to exhibit for a long time. And for that reason, it has been presented only for a limited period in a dark environment with dimmed lighting. But we wanted to allow the greater public to enjoy this painting. So as you see here, there's a rest area in front, and on the wall, 8K high resolution images are showcased. so that visitors can enjoy and touch the artwork in person, and they can feel the artwork more vividly while touching the higher resolution screen. And like that, we let the audience overcome the limitations. An immersive gallery too also operates a VR experience space, which is quite popular amongst public. One of the most curious space in the museum, I would say, is the museum storage and the conservation lab, which have been reproduced in a virtual world. So while wearing VR goggles, you can browse collections in the storage, and as it is formed like a game, and you can complete your missions and quests given. And that there's a sound too, but for today's presentation, I just removed the sound. But you can browse collections and you can experience restoring an artifact in the conservation lab. When we tried to make this at first, we were concerned about who to target. But what's interesting to see is that this VR space attracts a lot of attention, not only from children, but also from adults and even the elderly audience. And the Immersive Digital Gallery 3 is based on the theme of 고구려 murals from Anak Tomb. The places that do not allow an easy access to the public. Well, actually, the 고구려 mural tomb, designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is currently difficult to access as it is in the China-North Korean region. And even if you can visit there, it is impossible to enter the tomb site. So we projected this content, which had been perceived as a flat painting, onto the 3 walls and the ceiling. And the images are reproduced in accordance with the tomb's architectural structure, providing a virtual reality experience of moving around inside the tomb. And this can be set up. This media facade can be set up with the immersive gallery. I would like to introduce that media facade of the 10-story dome pagoda. It stands 13.5 meters high, and this is the most popular photo zone for the audience. This pagoda is 경천사 Temple, 10-story stone pagoda. Well, many have been enjoying this pagoda as an enjoyment, but it was also true that they lacked interpretation or information about the pagoda. So on each floor of the pagoda, stories about journey to the west and the life of Buddha are carved into sculptures. These diverse stories are told in dazzling lights and create a spectacular view through media facade. When creating this content, we considered mainly to implement media that use the original meaning of the temple pagoda, not damaging the original meaning of the stories of pagoda. Immersive Digital Gallery became an opportunity for the independent use of digital content in museums. Perhaps the most important thing when creating digital content for a museum is that all content should be ultimately based on the original works. We constantly struggle between historical testimony and freedom of creativity, and we are always curious to know to which extent we can go far. Perhaps this conflicting issue will continue, but we need a variety of trial sessions to improve, as our museum is required to have high quality contents. And in order to do this, the original meaning and the value of our cultural heritage must be understood sufficiently. And also, in addition, we should understand the relation of digital content along with its usability at a museum space, and it will be necessary to think in depth about coexistence of the analog and the digital in the museum and the fundamental identity of the museum. The most important thing in digital content creation is the story of the original, that is storytelling. No matter how great the implementation of new technology and the intuitive experiences, it cannot exceed the value and authenticity of the original. A number of digital content will gradually increase, but the value of the original will rise accordingly as well. In the end, it is worth considering that digital technology is a means of realizing the future directions and values for museums. So in the end, the digital technology is a direction for the future, and it should be a tool to use to that end. So I only had limited time to show everything we've tried, but I wish that there should be another chance for me to share all these things with you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Sang-Hui Bai. That was really a fast ride through everything that that happened in the immersive digital gallery. Thank you very much. I think we will come back to that in the Q&A session. I would like to move on to the second showcase, which will be presented by Yi Hong. She's a curator based in Seoul. She's a curatorial director of the curatorial research platform Meeting Room and a curator at the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Seoul, the NMCA, the biggest museum for contemporary art in Korea. Yi Hong will present the Museum of Everyone that she developed for the Gyeonggi Children's Museum and that uses Nintendo's console game Animal Crossing. Dear Yi Hong, please, I'm handing over to you.
네, 안녕하세요. 국립현대미술관 큐레이터 홍희지입니다. 오늘 발제에 참여하게 되어서 매우 기쁘게 생각합니다. 앞서 발표하신 국립중앙박물관의 흥미로운 사례를 잘 들었고요. 국립중앙박물관은 지금 한국에서도 굉장히 앞서 나가는 선도적인 훌륭한 프로젝트를 보여주고 있는 기관으로서 지난 2년 동안 우리나라 미술계에도 참 많은 변화가 있었다고 생각이 됩니다. 이번 행사의 제목이 메이킹 레모네이드였던 만큼 코로나19는 저에게 이를 계기로 막연하게 생각하고 있었던 디지털 플랫폼의 구체적인 활용과 새로운 방법을 찾게 해준 또는 찾아야만 했던 해였습니다. 너무 까마득하지만 발표에 앞서 잠시 2019년을 되짚어보면 당시 우리는 월드와이드 웹 WWW의 30주년을 맞이했었고 새로운 미래가 도래할 2020년에 대한 기대감으로 가득 차 있었으며 4세대 이동통신 LTE가 등장한 지 10년 만에 5세대 이동통신의 상용화가 이루어졌으며 인공지능, 사물인터넷, 클라우드 컴퓨팅, 빅데이터에 이르기까지 인류의 엄청난 과학기술의 발전의 성과를 눈앞에 두고 있는 듯 했습니다. 그뿐만 아니라 2019년은 한국에 있어서 세계여행 자유화가 시작된 지 30년이 된 해이기도 했죠. 민간 우주여행의 가능성을 타진하면서 새로운 시대로의 진입을 꿈꿨던 우리는 결국 전염병으로 인해서 국경이 봉쇄되고 이동이 제한되는 초유의 사태를 경험하게 되었으며 2년이 지난 지금 우리가 알던 세계는 이전이 생각나지 않을 만큼 엄청난 변화를 겪고 있습니다. 코로나19 이전까지 온라인 환경은 가상, 대체, 확장, 대안 공간으로 인식되었습니다. 우리는 코로나를 겪으며 집과 온라인이라는 대체 불가능한 공간에 대해 인식의 대전환을 맞이하게 되었으며 온라인 공간은
And the online environment was actually become, so as life became synchronized with cell phones and the distinction between daily life and SNS became a luxury. And before COVID-19, online environments were perceived as virtual alternate and alternative spaces. And now all the cultural and artistic activities and entertainment, including creative activities, took a major turning point in their communication with the outside world. And with COVID-19, we came to think about going to museums. And with COVID-19, we also came to think about how the art museums and the online spaces of art museums have made us to realize that from the use of platform and public goods perspective, art museums are not independent spaces, but are indeed democratic spaces that are open to anyone. And we came to question how to continue creative activities and enjoy cultural and artistic activities online. And as a result, I decided to bring about changes and explore the process of conception that is changing with the digital culture and game to make my own lemonade. And I used the gaming platform to come up with a project called the Museum of Everyone. I would like to share with you a short video.
모두의 박물관은 2020년 진행한 게임 플랫폼 온라인 전시로
The Museum of Everyone is a game platform-based online exhibition held in 2020 in collaboration with Gyeonggi Children's Museum. It's not MMCA's project, it's my personal project. And at the time, Animal Crossing, the game, because of its high gamification factor, it was used for many applications like a democratic movement in Hong Kong, in fashion shows, a free distribution and use of museum collections, and diverse prototype tests. It was actively used as a tool of exchange of information. And Animal Crossing game, I used the Animal Crossing game to collaborate with the Gyeonggi Children's Museum. So I proposed to create an island in Gyeonggi-do, which is an administrative district in the Seoul metropolitan area of Korea. And through this game, Animal Forest, and I made the entire island function as a platform for experiencing exhibitions and exhibition hall. And visitors can visit the island online through the game console to enjoy like outdoor sculptures. So like artists by public space artists like Kim Jung-tae, or enjoy different artworks using My Design by artist Hun Woo-hoon, and also design works by designers Bong Wan-san. And the visitors can also create characters like museum directors and curator characters, and use their homes to propose curatorial office like preservation rooms, archive rooms, to explore different functions of art museums. Above all, it was possible for me to suggest the open spaces for anyone that is actually not categorized by information about visitors, categorized by time difference, or categorized by nationality viewing time. So it was possible to suggest open spaces that were accessible to anyone, and it was possible to subvert equality without prejudice or geographical position, and it was possible to freely propose and modify. So for me, this project was it very much reminded me of the lyrics of the song BTS, which said that I'd rather wish it was a game because it really hurts. So for all of these reasons, I leveraged the nature of game, that everything can be reset easily, and the fact that we can use that made me to make proposals without any censorship and compromise. And recently, we're seeing many new interesting and new attempts where de-physicalization in cyberspace is leading to a lot of artistic practice. So there is a de-physicalization in cyberspace through screen-based awareness thinking processes. So I think that it is high time to think hard about what will be sustainable in the future, and how the public institutions that operate based on social trust should respond to and reflect the needs and calls of the times to represent the voice and position of the community. I think that the digital future of art is about recognizing the realistic sense of community, that my breath can save or harm others. So it is not a mere virtual reproduction or implementation that goes beyond reality. So eventually, which is this indistinguishable from the reality of technological development. And eventually, the core value of the collection is not just the transition to a new platform or proposal of a new format, but it is a reflection about how to organize and develop this new digital solidarity and apply it to reality. So not only the NMK, but Getty Museum's Art Generator or Metropolitan or Louvre are not just simply using collections and showcasing them online, but are encouraging creativity in people who are connected with the online community. And I think that it has resulted in the active and voluntary participation of the audience. I believe that the next presenter will speak more specifically about the prospects and the value of digital future art. I believe that the next speaker will ask more specific questions about this topic. I would like to wrap up my presentation here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, E.G. Hong. It sounds really interesting. I would love to visit the place. I will ask you for the code afterwards. So the third showcase features the project Next Museum I/O, and I'm very happy to Alina Vogt and Marina Bauernfeind, both project managers of the Next Museum I/O, will present the project. Alina Vogt works at NRW Forum Düsseldorf, Germany since 2020 and has a background as a mediator in cultural education. Marina Bauernfeind is an expert on creative marketing and media and works at the museum in Ulm. Next Museum I/O is a digital participatory platform that facilitates co-curation and communications between actors in visual arts. And I think Beijing was right. They are both going to talk more about how to connect digitally and facilitate interaction. So the floor is yours, Alina and Marina.
네, 알리나님, 마리나님 부탁드립니다. 네, 감사합니다. 여러분 안녕하십니까? 이렇게 발표할 기회를 주셔서 감사합니다. 저희가 이 자리에 함께 하게 되어서 대단히 행복하다고 생각을 합니다. 일단 제 발표 화면 공유를 시작하겠습니다. 항상 저희가 지금 이 시점에서 그리고 또 일반적으로 예술계에서 이야기하는
really important aspects like digitalization, especially during COVID-19, of course, but also beyond that, are emerging technologies, sustainability, participation, and gamification. And we also ask ourselves, how does the future museum look like? And that's, what Next Museum is about, that my colleague Marina and I will talk about now. So it's a cross-institutional platform, as Melanie said already, for co-creation and co-creation. So our big aim, our vision is to shape and discuss the museum of the future together with you. That means everyone who's interested. And as I said, it's a cross-institutional platform, but it's initiated by us, the NRW Forum and Kunstpalast in Düsseldorf, where I'm working at, and the Museum Ulm, where my colleague Marina is in charge for the project. We are online since July 2020, so the launch is about 9 months ago. And since that, we started 14 open calls from our institutions, but also from freelance curators and other museums. And just to give you a number, we have about 485 community members in our chat group. And we are one of the projects that are founded by the Digital Culture Program of the German Federal Cultural Foundation. So who are our target groups? I mean, everyone can participate in the Next Museum I/O. It's open for everyone who's interested, as I said. But of course, we have some main groups. First of all, the curators and institutions. So you. We have open calls that they can start on our website for exhibition projects at their own houses. So they share a concept on our platform and start an open call. And of course, we support them. We offer the platform and we'll help with everything if needed. But they can do it on their own as well. Second group are the artists, because they can submit their artworks during the open calls, which is a big step for some museums, I would say, because it opens up the process. Everyone basically has a chance to get selected and be shown in a museum. The third and the biggest group are the art enthusiasts as well as the newbies, because we also want to reach new target groups, of course. And they can participate on our platform by commenting the artworks or discussing in our chat groups. We really had some great discussions from high to low, everything was in there. And also our online video talks. And Marina, would you like to continue with our elements, how we work with the different target groups?
Yes, it's my pleasure to walk you through the elements of Next Museum I/O. Basically, it's the website, so the platform for open calls and all the activities we are doing, and the various communication tools just like Telegram, Slack, Crowdcast, or others. In terms of content, we have the collaborative work on exhibition projects, so the open calls and all the possibilities for the community to participate, like the chats, comments, voting, or interactive virtual exhibitions. Then we have the online video talks and community events with experts, curators, and artists. And as this is a really big area of Next Museum I/O, we show you more on the next slide. And we have the digital experiments with the Merivi Lab Düsseldorf. Thank you, Alina. The Merivi Lab Düsseldorf of the University of Applied Sciences. Technology, digital opportunities, new digital opportunities through increasing digitalization is a core issue of Next Museum I/O. And with the digital experiments, we aim to develop new formats and prototypes for education, meditation, and communication. With Next Museum I/O, we run a really intense event program. There's nearly every second week either a meetup with curators, an expert talk, community gatherings like ping pong that we establish on the platform WonderMe, or our Art Tech late night show, It's Tech Time, that we are presenting twice or 3 times a year. The events are the possibilities for the art enthusiasts to connect with the pros, to learn from them, to exchange with them, and for the pros to gain insights from the community for their work. I'd like to finish with the question why you should start a project with Next Museum I/O as museum or free curator. Next Museum I/O is a tool to address target groups that museums do not reach or do not reach anymore, and to build a relationship through collaborative work. So if you feel a lack of young digital natives, you can start right away and free of charge a collaborative exhibition project on our platform. The languages are German and English, but of course, you can change to your preferred language in the communication channel you are running beside your open call. Next Museum is also a tool to learn more about what is needed from the user's point of view, so the community insights that I've mentioned, to discuss questions about the future museum together, and for more democracy in the art business. And with this invitation, I'd like to hand over again to my colleague Alina Fuchte, who will show you the website.
Yes. On our last slide, we just put our context because, as we said, everyone can participate, and we would be very happy if you're interested in cooperating with us, and you can just text us or give us a call. So at the end, I would just like to show you the website. Since it's a digital platform, we can take a look. So that's Next Museum I/O with our big vision, as I said. Let's shape the museum of the future together, create, discuss, and experiment. So here you can see the menu with the 3 big E's, you could say. We have exhibitions, we have experiments, and we have events. So let's just take a quick look on the exhibitions. We have current project or feature projects, which you can see here. And we also have our archive where you can just see what we did in the past and what's already closed. And this is one of our current open calls of the Museum Ulm, the most beautiful picture at my home. And here you can see how it looks and how it works. So you basically have a text of the curators about the concept, what they are looking for. You have Stefanie Date, the curator, and to give you an idea what they are looking for in the open call. And you have those two buttons for the artists, submit now. So you kind of just have a formula where you can put in the text, upload the artworks, and so on. And you also have the join discussion button where everyone can jump into the discussion and talk with the curators, but also with the community and with the artists to just shape the exhibition as well and start getting the co-creation started. And below you can see all the incoming submissions of this open call, and you can click on them and check them out. You can also comment them, and watch the pictures. And let me just show you how it looks after the open call when it's closed. We have different options because I think co-creation, there's no one single way, but very many different ones. And you can start a voting and the artist can be selected that way. You can just discuss with the community and come to a selection. Or you can look for co-curators also on your open call. And at the end, when you have the final selection, we want to show them, to make it transparent, to start the talk about the exhibition before it starts. We have the curatorial statement where you can just say why you decided that and that way for the artist. And you can also see which ones are selected for the exhibition. And still, I'll see all the incoming submissions, so you have the overview. Just one quick look to the experiments that Marina already mentioned. You can suggest an experiment yourself, but you can also watch the one we already realized. For example, the augmented reality chat where visitors can interact with each other and create their own object science and talk about the artwork during the exhibition. Last but not least, we have the events. Martina already mentioned as well. You can watch in the archive also all the replays of the events. So if you miss something, no worries, you can see it here. So, okay. All in all, Next Museum is a project that we do together with the community and together with other institutions. It's a big experiment, I have to say. It's still going on for 3 years, more or less. And it's a great experiment, and it's digital and analog. It's on the intersection of that, and we would be happy to work with you on the Next Museum together. Thank you.
May I add something, Alina? I just like to add that the first visible exhibitions will be presented from May on this year. So we had 10 months for the open calls, for the community work, and now the first exhibitions will be on display in museums or exhibition spaces. So if you're interested in what's the outcome of Next Museum I/O, visit the museums or the online exhibitions. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Marina and Alina, for showing this different example how to work with digital means and how to connect within the art world. And also, since we're all working remotely worldwide and over distance. So for our fourth showcase, I'm very happy to welcome Maite Labar, who is the head of digital and audiovisual at the Louvre Museum in Paris. She has a background as an online journalist, and at the Louvre, which, as you might know, is the biggest and most visited museum in the world. Maite Labar and her team is in charge of websites, mobile tools, film production, and digital innovation. And she will present the VR project Mona Lisa Beyond the Glass to us. Welcome, Maite Labar.
Thank you very much, Melanie, and many thanks for the invitation today to speak about this VR project with Mona Lisa. In 2019, we were preparing a new Louvre website, as long as a new website to release the online collection. These websites were released 15 days ago, so you can check online Louvre Online Collection and Louvre.fr website. In 2019, we wanted to test the first innovative project, such as virtual reality. It was on the occasion of the Leonardo exhibition just before the pandemic in October 2019. We had one idea that the Mona Lisa, you know, the famous painting could not be presented in the exhibition because she's too famous, and many people wanted to keep on watch Mona Lisa outside the exhibition. So we wanted to invite Mona Lisa in Leonardo's exhibition at the Louvre and make something impossible for visitors, be alone with the masterpiece and understand Leonardo's art. We want at the Louvre to tell permanent stories about collection and masterpieces, and we want to upgrade the visitor experience thanks to digital. It was also an occasion to test innovative interpretation tools along with a classic digital website. We wanted to offer to the public an immersive story to kill also fantasy and cliché about Mona Lisa. Many people have wrong ideas about her. And it was also a unique experience to meet the woman Mona Lisa. We did this VR project thanks to a partnership with Vive Arts by HTC, and it's really important to say that this project wouldn't exist without the sponsorship and the partnership of HTC and Vive Arts. And we work with a French studio, Emissive. The important things to say is to create the project, we really need to work all together and along with the Louvre curators. We had many challenges and stakes for this new project. We wanted to present it in 4 languages, French, English, Spanish, and Chinese, to meet with our audience. Before the pandemic, the Louvre used to receive more than 70% of foreign visitors. And we wanted to get close from the reality of the paintings and the reality of Mona Lisa into the exhibition. You can see that we welcome visitors with the headset. And the coolest thing about this project is that people could meet Mona Lisa in Leonardo's exhibition, as you can see on the picture, and then they could visit her in real in her special room. So it was a great occasion for visitors to meet Mona Lisa in an immersive show, and then to meet the painting for real in the state room in the Louvre. We also wanted to have an online broadcast with an augmented version. You can download it for free on every VR store. We also create a smartphone version because we wanted the experience be more accessible to everyone. And during the pandemic, we saw that many people download the application on Google and Apple stores. We also imagine a free broadcast in different locations, like a French project called the Microfolie with La Villette. It's cultural spaces for kids and young audience, and French-Institut, as you know. Maybe to keep speaking about the project, I'd like to share key figures. We made a survey with the visitors in the Louvre who tested the experiment. 90% were very satisfied, and it was really important for us, as it was the first test for VR in the Louvre, to get the users' feedbacks. It was like imperative. We know that 80,000 visitors have tested the experience on site, and that more than 8,000 have downloaded the smartphone version. And I think this figure is now more because of the pandemic, because as you know, the Louvre website received 21 million of visits last year during the first French lockdown. So it's true that like everywhere, digital has become, for the moment, and unfortunately, the only access to the museum, because the Louvre has been closed for 6 months last year, a few months in 2021. The important thing about the VR project, it's like we'd like now to create another one, maybe around an artwork as well. We really use it to create what it's not possible in real life. We don't want to put too much screens between visitors and artworks and masterpieces, and we only use it when we want to upgrade an experience or share more information or more details about artworks. And even if I enjoy my my digital and film project with my team, it's really important for us that it would be complementary for a real visit of the Louvre in the museum when it will be reopened. And let's cross finger all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maite. It was very interesting to hear you saying that you don't want to put too many screens between visitor and artworks. I think it's also very notable. And as I mentioned in the introduction, we all prefer also the physical encounter with artworks. I think, yeah, so our last but not least showcase will be presented by Victoire Thévenin. She's the co-founder of Fabula Division and the managing director of the VR Arts Festival. She will present to us DIMODA, the Digital Museum of Digital Art, a pioneering virtual institution that commissions, preserves, and exhibits VR artworks. Please, Victoire, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, hello, everyone. And first, hopefully you're hearing me well, but it's a great pleasure to be part of this digital event with you all today. Extremely well organized, and it's been truly very nice. So as you said, so my name is Victoire. I'm the co-founder of Fabula, calling from Arles, which is in southern France. Our team is spread upon and working in between Barcelona in Spain and Arles and Paris in France, and collaborating, of course, with many artists and institutions worldwide. Just to give you little bit of information about what Fabula is, we usually think of ourselves as a cultural practice dedicated to the idea of worlding with digital media. I'm going to share my screen, though I don't have so many slides, but up. Okay. So hopefully, yeah. So what's really, and that's something that I wanted to say as an introduction, because we're maybe, it's quite different from some other presentation, and it was really very interesting to have all this, shared experiences before, but we're not a gallery or a cultural institution. We're really, as I said, more of a cultural practice. And what we are very dedicated to and confident about and convinced is that immersive sensory worlds that focus attention on alternative perspectives have truly like a great potential to expand in a way our conscious capabilities, and also change in many ways our worldviews. And specifically when we're speaking about multisensory virtual reality experiment and virtual worlds, that's something that we're very excited about. So in a nutshell, what we do is that we have 3 domains of activity. We curate exhibitions and festivals. So and I'm not going to show you slides because it would be like basically 80 slides, but we work on exhibitions such as festivals such as VR Arles, which is a virtual reality festival, part of Les Rencontres de la Photographie in Arles. That's been running since 2016. We are also programming 2 new events here in Paris. One of them is called Les Ailleurs, so it's the Elsewheres in English, and it's a 3-month immersive festival at Goethe-Institut. And the latest one I just wanted to mention is Palais Augmenté. And I'm really happy that I know we've been discussing with, collaborators of, organizers of the symposium. And I know that Manuel Rosner gave a talk yesterday, I think, thanks to all the discussions we had. But we are also programming this new festival, which is dedicated to artistic creation in augmented reality, and taking place in Grand Palais in Paris, which is like this 10,000 square meters, huge cultural space dedicated to innovation and art in general. And just to have like a very short brief parenthesis about this one, it's interesting because we really wanted to build a program that was resonating, corresponding to the place, that was really like trying to make the connection between what AR is all about, like the visitor, the digital artwork, of course, and the space itself, because it's AR, it's not VR. And we ended up only commissioning new works, because adapting existing AR work was just like artwork was not working at all. So we commissioned 6 new artworks, and this is going to tour in other institutions worldwide, starting from Q3 this year. So curation, it's taking a bit too long, but like curation, we also produce experiences with artists and philosophers, immersive virtual experiences. So with people like Donna Haraway, Lorraine Moffat, Vincent Després, Brendan Johnson. We have a commission program, which is called Worlding with the Trouble, very inspired by, this idea of, speculative fabulation that Donna really developed a lot in her writings. And lastly, we accompany artists and collectives for distributions. online, offline, in for sales of editions, but also exhibitions, festivals, and different hybrid formats. And so we work with Marshmallow Laser Feast. We work with Mélodie Mousset, with Théo Triantafildis, for instance. And there was one specific collective that I really wanted to I really wanted to take the opportunity and share with you a bit more, elements on this today, because I think they've been on the forefront of, digital arts in the past few years, which is, and probably some of you know their work already. They're called Dimoda. Dimoda, so let me go a little bit further because there are a few visuals. So distribution, projection, and Dimoda. So Dimoda, in a nutshell, Dimoda is like kind of a pioneer of music, like what it is to be and to create a museum for digital art. So Dimoda, and you said it a little bit as an introduction, but it's a virtual institution that was conceived quite a while ago in 2013 by two persons, very talented people, Alfredo Salazar Caro and William Robertson. And they basically, as you said, like commission and showcase, preserve and showcase cutting edge virtual reality artworks. So they've released, so Dimoda so far have released 3 virtual exhibitions. So it was Dimoda 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and featured in a whole about 15 unique artworks, VR artworks. They launched the first one, it was back in 2015 with the Transfer Gallery in New York. And they basically traveled the world since then. They had like thousands of virtual exhibitions being downloaded through their website, and also IRL exhibitions happening in several places in Northern America, in Asia, and in Europe as well. Their latest exhibition that they've released is Dimoda 3.0, which is the name of the exhibition is called New Talismans, and I'll share a few links with you at the end of the talk. And it's not going to be very long, but you'll have all the assets if you want to dig it a bit more into what they do. New Talismans is basically like this virtual exhibition which is exploring the experience and embodiment of computer witchcraft in our era, which is like this kind of post-internet era age. And it's featuring 5 artists. So Moheshin Alayari, Vicky Deng, Paul Hertz, Rendon Johnson, with whom we work as well on the production side, and Shane Meckelberger. And each of those artists is using digital technologies basically as kind of magic tools to create immersive environments. So you see this exhibition, and I encourage you to check it out on the website and download it if you can. Basically have like ancient genies being awakened, with 3D scans and magic circles, in abandoned casinos, some kind of surreal landscapes opening up into infinity, and disembodied voices reciting poetry in virtual worlds and ancient forests. So it's a very, very, very rich proposition. It's available for download, as I said, on their website. And what the idea they had, and that we also try to promote at Fabula, is that it's available basically for free. Well, not for free, but for a donation. And a donation which is between $5 to $20 US. All the profits go to an association which is working on accompanying people, disadvantaged people in Southern Brooklyn in COVID times. So just to ensure they have like basic things to subsist. This is like this next image is Rosa Meckman. So this was an older Dimoda exhibition. Here you have just an image of Hindan's work, Heights Thought, which is an amazing work in VR in Dimoda 3.0. And so, yeah, so basically all the profits goes to this association, and they have a new project, a new exhibition, Dimoda 4.0, which is going to be released. We don't have like the set date just yet, but it's going to be released early summer if everything goes well. Yeah, the last thing I think I wanted to share is that if you go on up, like here you have a couple of links. So the latest, the newest Dimoda exhibition is going to be, and this is really exciting, it's going to be created by Christian Paul from the New School, who's like a really also pioneer in all the new media and, VR, artistic curation works. And here you have 3 links. So you have the Dimoda's website on which you can download the exhibition, the Fabula website. And the first one is a channel that we recently launched with a few friends and just artists that we work with and collaborate with at Fabula. And on it, if you want to check it out, you will have like encounters in virtual worlds with several artists from Dimoda 3.0 and a few others like Mélodie Mousset, Lorraine Moffat, and but they are 2 of them are really dedicated to Dimoda. So it's maybe a first glimpse into, the creations, and hopefully you will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoire. That was really interesting, not only to talk about how to present artworks digitally, but to also talk about genuinely digital artworks. I think that's also another aspect that is very interesting when we're talking about visual arts and digital. Yeah, so thank you. We are through with all the showcases and presentations. For me, it's really stunning how different ways are developed to complement real physical objects, and how different layers of experiences can be put on to the original. I say original experience of the artwork, or the traditional one, maybe that's a better word. We are quite advanced in time. There was one question to Alina and Marina from the audience, and it's saying, how can we further reach out to audiences who might not be familiar with the internet or digital tools? Maybe if you want to quickly answer to this question.
Sure, I'll go first, Marina.
Yes, you can.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, definitely, especially during the pandemic. I mean, we started, as I said, in July 2020, so in the middle of COVID-19. So we don't know it differently for next museum at the moment, but of course, we also plan to start projects in situ, so at the museums. And the experiments, for example, that I said, for example, augmented reality chat or anything, they are in the exhibitions. So we also want to interact with the visitors at the museum and not only online. There's always an intersection between the digital and the museum.
Thank you.
I think what's really important to say is that we don't want to replace the experience in the museum. Nothing can that. But we want to give an additional option for digital natives and for all those who can't visit the museum. These are not only the younger ones who are not willing to, but also the disabled people or the old people. And you will be surprised, we also have really oldies on our platform. So it's, I think, a quite inclusive way of co-working and co-creating.
Thank you. I think it's also something that we heard in almost all presentations, that it's not about replacing the physical experience, but to additionally supplement with that. There was another question directed to E.G. Hong, and I can just read it out for you. Can video games really be a gateway towards the arts for younger generations? And do you consider video games to be an art form? And if yes, in what sense?
최근에 그 코로나19 상황에서
So recently, during COVID-19, one of the fast-growing industry is the IT, entertainment, and gaming industry. So people are spending more and more time at home, and people are constantly thinking about how to entertain themselves at home. So there is explosive interest in the gaming industry and its boost. But in fact, video games first emerged in the 1970s, and it has, in fact, a longer history than internet. So game, as it was collected by MoMA, it has gone beyond high-end subculture. There are lots of concrete discussions that have taken place about the role of game in art. Although there are not yet extensive discussions, but I think that we can explore game in a very creative manner and creative approach in the future. So I think that game has indeed taken one step into the art scene. I think that that is something that is inevitable, that we cannot deny. So the game-based strategy, game-based imagination, game-based activity, though all of that will not just remain solely in the realm of game, but I think that it will continue to interact with other disciplines, including art. And I think we're at a moment where we're closely observing this process with a lot of interest.
Thank you, E.G. Hong. So now we are almost finished with our session. Just taking a quick look into the round, if there are any pressing questions from your side to the other presenters. Okay, I don't think so. So I would like to finish the session with one question to all of you and ask you for a short and quick answer. I would be interesting to hear from your experience. What do you think is the biggest challenge in your field of work for the future? Yeah, maybe we start as we did the presenting. Send me back.
네, 그렇습니다. 사실 이
Well,
디지털화에 대한
digitization of artworks is not a concept born out of COVID-19 pandemic. Before COVID, we have been working on various projects of digitization, but COVID-19 has accelerated this work process, I guess. In that regard, this question of digitization has started long ago. And what's most important is to share public awareness about digitization, and in particular for museums having the original art pieces, we need to have as a prerequisite a common understanding of the public about digitization of the original, to which extent we can have transformations or changes, and to which context we can accept the interpretation of the originals. Well, if time allows it, I could be really long, but I'll be simply conclude my comments here for other participants.
Thank you, E.G.
네,
Sorry, will you add?
네, I Am a Legend라는 영화에 보면
If you look at the film I Am a Legend, it's a world where everybody turns into zombie, and Will Smith actually has, I remember about a scene about Will Smith, meaning that even in the times of disaster, an artwork actually has a power. And I think that there is this power of originality, of authentic artworks. So Will Smith actually stares at this artwork and consoles himself in the movie. So of course, the virtual space and the virtual world will not replace the physical space. It will not also, it will in a way complement the physical space, but I think that we also have to explore the elements that will be exclusively for the virtual space. And like nowadays, as we can not physically go to museums, we really have to think about how to fill that void together with the community. We have to think about how to win-win with the community around us.
Yes, thank you, Marina and Alina.
Yeah, to me, the biggest challenge and also my wish is that all these wonderful digital initiatives that are started stay sustainable and become part of the museum practice. There is so much energy and so much effort out right now. It's incredible to see what all the museums are establishing. And I'd love to see those two worlds staying together in future, even when the pandemic will have left us.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. I mean, sustainability is a great buzzword, and for me also, it's a big challenge or a big question how to work together, actually. So how to work co-creative, that everyone has a voice and decisions are made together, and to develop methods as well as tools that are sustainable and usable by institutions as well as small museums to really start a sustainable movement towards more participation in the museum. But we're still looking for the tools and the methods, how it really works. So that's kind of a big challenge for us.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. Maite.
Yeah, for me, the biggest challenge is to keep spreading the knowledge around collection and the museum, and digital can complete a physical venue and a physical discovering of the artworks of museum and institutions.
Thank you. And Victoire.
Yeah, so I'm the last one, but well, as I think as in we talked a little bit about video games and the importance of these practices nowadays, and I think it's the same for immersive experiences. It starts with a few key interconnected elements, which is the interaction mechanic, or we can call it like user experience. There's the art direction, there's a set of technical choices, and of course, like there's a story. And the story needs to be written as a user experience to be part of it. And it's told from the point of view of the person living in the story, not from the point of view of the author who's delivering the story, which is a huge shift, that has taken quite a long time to really sink in most people in to enable this new creations, virtual reality experiences, but I think that we are really in a good spot at the moment in terms of the development of the technologies, the way artists and everyone involved have been able to make use of them, and institutions, galleries, and platforms worldwide being able to disseminate in a way this creation. So I guess to me the biggest challenge would be nowadays to try and make the most of this breaking down of barriers between on one hand different art forms and on the other hand different players, and of course it's interconnected to really help and push these new forms of creations and also the way they're introduced to the audiences.
Yes, thank you very much, Victoire. So now we are at the end of our session on the digital and visual art. Thank you so much, all the presenters, for sharing your inspiring examples and your thoughts on everything related to arts. For the audience, I would like to invite you, and also, of course, you, the presenters, to join us again tomorrow for the final day of Making Lemonade. We're going to look into economic models and online culture. We're having another performance of an online performance, and we're also going to have the closing panel where we broadly look into the future of digital art. So if you're interested, please join us again. Okay, so with those words, I say thank you again and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.